Kirk Cousins thinks his relationship with his receivers is fine, despite Dan Patrick report. Washington's offense had perhaps its poorest performance of the season in Sunday's loss to the Chargers, with Kirk Cousins throwing for just 151 yards, easily the lowest total since he was installed as the team's starter before the 2015 season. That followed a week in which Dan Patrick caused a minor local stir by reporting on his podcast that the behind-the-scenes intel he had received indicated that Kirk Cousins is not well liked by his wide receivers. After just about every DC sports radio program chewed over this declaration, Patrick later said more, that he was told some of the receivers have a problem with Cousins, because he throws them into positions where they could get hurt, and that he was told this by somebody who attended the Redskins-Cowboys Thursday night game who is not affiliated with the Redskins. This is all a bit odd, but it comes from the host of NBC's Primetime Football Night in America program, someone who has a national platform and plenty of national listeners. And so Cousins on Monday was finally asked to respond to this report. "I didn't hear it," the quarterback told Grant Paulsen and Danny Rouhier on 106.7 The Fan. "I certainly would never want to lead a receiver into trouble. I think if it's a problem, people would come and talk about it in the building. So if it is something that people are saying, I don't know that it's coming from our building or from our locker room. It'd be coming from outside of that. I don't know," Cousins went on. "You know, I'm sure I've led people into traffic. I know I led Pierre Garcon into some big hits in the past. But I think it also is a part of playing the receiver position, and it's tough. And I told Jamison Crowder late in the game, Sunday, some of the catches he made in tight windows, some of the hits he takes and punt returns and the way he plays, I mean, it's impressive, even in a loss. I said, to Crowder, just the toughness and the way you compete and just keep playing, it's impressive. It's a joy to watch, and it's fun to play with and an honor to play for you. So I respect those guys, and I think it's mutual, and I'll do my best to protect them in the future if that's the case. But I don't know if that probably is as true as maybe it sounds." After a follow-up question, Cousins added even more. "I mean, I'd like to think that if a guy felt they were in danger they would come tell me," he said with a laugh. "I'm only a few lockers away. But no, I haven't been told that. The receiver coach hasn't told me that. So I'm sure I could go ask the guys, Tuesday, at the meetings and I'll get back to you and let you know, but as of right now I don't know of anything." The last sentence was also said in good spirits, with a bit of a chuckle. And if the person Patrick spoke to is not part of the Redskins organization, at the minimum there is some level of telephone being played. Patrick, incidentally, was also criticized for not pronouncing the quarterback's first name correctly, a problem he rectified Sunday night. At Sportsbog Dan Patrick saying Kirk's name during the highlights pick. Twitter.com/D7JMWeelaw, Deepak S. at Somlusai, December 11, 2017 Cousins, meanwhile, also spoke to the suggestion that the Redskins had a bad week of practice last week that foretold Sunday's blowout loss. "I don't know, I think that every player kind of sees practice or sees the game or the week from their own perspective and what their process was," he told Paulsen and Rouhier. "Whether or not practice was sharp last week, I think the focus is now what can we do now, what can we do going into Tuesday and Wednesday. You know, if that was the case then let's make sure that tomorrow's walkthrough, tomorrow's meetings, everybody's locked in, there's an attention to detail. Let's make sure on Wednesday guys have energy, they're running around like we're a team that's on a path to be 12-4. You know, let's go that direction and focus on what we can do now to make sure practices are where they need to be. But as far as my process, no, I felt it's been pretty consistent all the way through the season, and I was as engaged as I've always been, and I think our offense was as engaged as they've always been throughout last week, as they were any other week." Asked about the possibility of a season-ending swoon, Cousins called the loss to the Chargers more of a wake-up call to the team that will force players to really tighten the screws, to have a really good week of practice and feel a sense of urgency. So I'm of the opinion that a game like this, or the last game and a half, is going to wake us up, that we're going to respond and really have a sense of urgency this week to really be at our best next Sunday, he said. And that's the way I'm going to respond, and I would expect our team to do the same. And I can understand the outside perspective being, oh, here we go, but that's just not as a player how I would view it. I think it's going to wake us up and kind of harden us for these last